Wonderful. The webinar will be available for review behind the members-only portal on lvchamber.com. If you or someone you want to know want to re-reference it or you want to send it to someone, feel free to do so. Now I'd like to introduce Shaundell Newsome. You ready? Yep. I don't know this one.
Good morning. Hi, this is Shaundell Newsome, and I'm really, really excited about the opportunity to work with you on the Cambridge University. And I've done these a couple of times before, and I really enjoy sharing information with people who are really interested in understanding how branding really works. And the main thing that I want to give you as a disclaimer is rid your mind of everything that you've probably heard before about branding, because I've been doing this since I was a kid, and it's been a long time, many, many years, where I've had the opportunity to talk about branding and be a part of branding discussions. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So on today's purpose is what I want to do. I want to teach you about the intangibles of branding. I know it's building your brand in Southern Nevada. Actual branding lesson can be used anywhere that you imagine you want to be, because in most cases people can be a global. You can have a global brand just by simply having an aggressive internet marketing and social media campaign, and where you can actually reach anyone throughout the world in a matter of seconds. So it's very important that you understand about the intangibles of branding as well, because I always say that a brand without a personality is absolutely nothing. So I just want to make sure that you clearly understand what we're talking about and what we're going into, because we're getting ready to go into a world that most people don't want to explore into. Most people want to talk about the tangibles. They want to talk about what you see visually, whether it's the logos or it's the marketing materials or it's the website. Everybody wants to talk about the beautiful colors and all the aesthetics of marketing and branding. But not many people want to talk about the intangibles. So today we're going to teach you about the intangibles. And that's what it's really about. How do you have a personality without intangibles? That's not really possible. So let me give you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Shaundell Newsome. I spent 10 years in the United States Air Force. I worked in red flag, green flag exercises. It was an absolute dream job where I got to create a lot of new technology and be a part of a team that created a lot of new technology. We were a part of the team that had stealth technology, drone technology, all types of new fighter weapon systems that we use today. So I was extremely excited about those opportunities. I attended a course early in my career called Principles of Instruction, which allowed me the opportunity to teach fighter pilots and others how they would behave in the cockpit and how they would behave in situations when it came to combat situations. So that unique experience actually translated into what I do today in marketing. I spent 6.5 years as a marketing director at Station Casino, which I absolutely enjoyed as well. I've never had really a bad career. I truly was blessed with the wonderful opportunity to work with such a brand. And at that time, we were building a Station Casino's boarding pass program, which would one day become one of the most beloved loyalty programs in the world. And that brand actually expanded tremendously in that 6.5 years, and I learned so much. And I learned more about not only the external vision of the brand, but I learned a lot about the psychographics. And that's really what we're going to talk about a little bit, because the psychographics is where it's at, and that's where people have certain beliefs and they have certain feelings and emotions about your brand. So that's really where I want to go. And then in 2003, I started something called the 12 Steps of Marketing, and I was on the board for the American Marketing Association. And as I was traveling throughout the country, I realized that, there's not a sort of a system put together that will help small businesses clearly understand how to develop and grow to where they have similar loyal brand champions as some of the brands that have been around forever, like Disney, McDonald's, Burger King, now Starbucks, and now Amazon. So how do you build those loyal people who will always purchase your brand, love your brand? How will you get those people who will recommend your brand to others? That's where we're trying to go today. We're trying to get you to a point where you will never cold call again for the rest of your life because people will be calling you every single day. And that's where I can proudly say our company has evolved to. So let's talk about our agenda for today. I want to talk about the definition of a brand. Here's where we really are going to have some fun. We're going to talk about the definition. We're going to talk about the intangible sum. We're going to talk about what is your brand promise. And then here's something that I know a lot of my small businesses have a challenge with, and in some cases some of the larger companies do too. How do you take that brand and connect it to your chamber and your community so that those folks clearly understand what you do? Because the more people understand your brand, the better experience you will have as a chamber member. You know, I've been a member of the Las Vegas Metro Chamber since our company has started. And one of the things that I take a lot of pride in and I make sure that happens is that people understand, everybody in the chamber understands what our brand is all about. And yeah, we have a marketing and communications firm, but we're not like every other marketing and communications firm. We have to distinguish ourselves from everyone else. So when people call us for opportunities, they're calling us for real opportunities. They're not just lumping us in saying, hey, here's another marketing and communications firm that you can throw into the bucket. If it's something that we don't want to do or we're not really skilled at doing, then I don't want to waste their time and I don't want them to waste my time. So it's very important that you understand where we're going with these intangibles because it really define how you're going to go about this intangible. So let's start with the very first definition, the definition of a brand. Does anybody? I wonder if people really pay attention to how brand is defined. Now, I will tell you that I started my first business when I was 14 years old in Brooklyn, New York. I started a printing and outreach and grassroots marketing company at the height of hip-hop, well, when hip-hop first started. Let me not say the height, because in the beginning when hip-hop first started, the only way we distributed information and communication was through printed materials. We would do flyers, we'd do posters, we'd hang posters on light poles in Brooklyn and in New York City, and we would actually get people to come to those different parties in the park or block parties or house parties or whatever. And then the other thing that was very important is that rappers back then, they were not played on radio, they were not on television, there was no MTV or BET or any other show to promote them. So at that time, they used to sell tapes out of the back of their cars. And what I used to do was design the tape covers for them. Now, you may say, where does all that come from? Well, I interned for some of the best ad agencies at 14 years old. I actually got a short internship with Ogilvy Mather in Manhattan because I went to a high school called the High School of Graphic Communication Arts, and David Ogilvy became my hero. And besides one of the guys that I interned for the next 4 years was with Lou Edna Graphics, which was a print company and a graphic company in Brooklyn, New York. So one of the things that I always lived by was what David Ogilvy talked about. And when he did Dove soap and he did brands like the different car brands and different things that he had done, the Rolls Royce, what he had talked about was the intangible. And how do you get people to believe that Dove soap is no longer a soap, but it became a cleansing cream? Now, what's interesting is because we said it was a cleansing cream, more people got excited. They became emotional about it. Nobody got excited or emotional about soap, right? Because soap didn't have any emotional attachment. But once you said it was a cleansing cream, it changed everything. And once it behaved like a cleansing cream, yes, I said a product behaved like a cleansing cream, it became the intangible that separated Dove from all other soap. Now, that may sound crazy, but yes, that's what's happening today, and that's what's happened back then, is that people become emotional because of that intangible sum. And that's what's important to understand, is that intangible sum. So the definition of a brand, according to David Ogilvy, was the intangible sum of a product's attributes, its name, packaging and price, its history, its reputation, and the way it's advertised. So we're going to play off of that. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. So what are your tangibles, right? Your tangibles, comes from your logos, your artworks, your website, things that people can see, they can touch, they can feel. But what are your intangibles? They start with your vision, your mission, your values, your employees, your culture. One of the things that we did extremely well in my experience at Station Casinos was that we made sure that people understood the culture that we were trying to create. We were in an environment where locals gaming was really being defined. And when I talk about locals gaming, for those people who are not familiar with the Las Vegas culture, you have people who come in as tourists and they want to have a gaming experience. But you also have local people who want to have a gaming experience. Now, those two people are distinctively different. And that's what's different. What are their characteristics? What are the characteristics of those two different gamers? And I'll give you a simple example for the sake of time. And excuse me if I talk pretty fast because, of course, I came from Brooklyn. I came from New York. Even though I've been on the West Coast for 30 years, I still have that speed and that energy and that passion that comes from a New Yorker. So I will try to slow down if I'm moving too fast. But I will tell you that the characteristics is where it's at. So let me tell you about the locals gamer versus the tourist. The tourist comes to Las Vegas. They're on a plane. They're excited. They are so pumped up. They're half drunk most of the time when they get on that airplane. And they get to Las Vegas, and they don't care how much money they lose. They're excited about the fact that they lost $10,000. I lost $10,000 in Las Vegas. They go back to Wisconsin, New York, California, wherever, and they're excited. They're like, oh, my God, I lost $10,000 in Las Vegas. Woo-hoo. They are really, really jazzed up about it. Well, the locals don't feel so good about bragging about their losses. Actually, locals like to brag about what they won. Even if they lost $10,000, they want to talk about the $1,000 that they won. So it's very important for you to understand those distinct characteristics and those differences that happen in the mindset of who you're talking to. They have different thought processes. They are both gamers. They are both people who like to play slot machines and table games and bingo and poker, but they have different characteristics. Even per game, they have different characteristics. So I had to understand what are those intangibles, what's different, what will they connect to, what will they fall in love with, what will make them excited. A bingo player loves a bingo dogger, or they like their electronic device that helps them to keep track of the numbers. But a blackjack player could care less about what a bingo player cares about. So those are two different people within that space. And then you always have to remember, what can customers connect with? Your mission, your vision, your company values, your employees, and your culture, the customers have to connect with. They have to love you. They have to want to talk about you. And at the end of the day, if they love you and they want to talk about you, they become a profitable customer to you. They create what we call constant cash flow. If you want constant cash flow, build loyalty. Build people who will wake up in the morning and they purchase your brand in their sleep. So I want you to understand that this is what we strive to do. This is what I like to see people doing. This is what I like to see small businesses doing. Even if you own a dry cleaner, how do you maintain and how do you not only create customers, but how do you create and develop loyal brand champions? It would be extremely brilliant if my dry cleaner would send me a postcard once in a while and say, I love you. Or if they would once in a while say, hey, you know what, I got a new cleaning tip for you. Just imagine if you can hit that intangible, that piece where people really, really fall in love with your brand. So that's what I'm talking about. So let's talk about what the best brands in the world do. Now, what do they do? What's behind their logos? What really makes you feel special and really fall in love with this brand? What has you have a special relationship with Coca-Cola? Why is it that Coca-Cola customers and loyal brand champions, they're going to fight with Pepsi drinkers? Why is that battle happening for decades? Why does that happen? That's because people have an emotion. And there's been many studies that says that it has nothing to do with the taste, which is interesting because even though at one time Coke tried to fool their customers, I think if they probably would have never said anything, they probably would have noticed the taste changed. They said the new Coke, but the fact that they put new, it frustrated those folks to the point where they were like, we're not going to buy Coke anymore. So they had to go back and say, go back to original because that really upset their folks. So it's really what's behind the logo, what's behind Starbucks, and what's behind what happens every single day at that coffee shop, where the people are not just there buying coffee. They're there for an experience. They're there to work. They're there to do their homework. They're there to hang out with their friends. I just watched the transformation the other day in Starbucks, where the older folks were in there reading their newspaper, talking to their friends, walking their dogs, doing that. And then in the afternoon, you saw the children who were coming in after school. A kid buying coffee or a kid going into a coffee shop. That never used to happen. This is what changes. This is what the best brands in the world do. They actually change behaviors. They change how you act, and that's all because of that intangible sum. And we just recently had a conversation about Apple lovers, right? You know what? All my life, people kept trying to push PCs on me, and if you're a PC user, God bless you. But I'm just telling you, I am really, really excited about Apple, and the reason I am is not because of just because I love the name or I love Steve Jobs, but what really, really happened is the experiences that I've had with Apple have been those experiences that have brought me in as a loyal brand champion. So, yes, I will have 3 devices that do the same thing ultimately, but it's because of one reason. It's because that we have fallen in love and have touched on the intangibles of that brand. We are into it. We love it. We respect it. We're going to recommend it to others. And guess what? From me to my family to our company, they got us as loyal brand champions, which ultimately creates what? Constant cash flow. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to look at, is that's what we're doing here, is creating constant cash flow. So let's talk about another part that I really, really love, is what's behind the logo. Who are you? The first thing you got to ask yourself as a small business is, who are you? Who are you? Even as a large corporation, who are you? You have to define yourself. You have to say who you're going to be. We made a distinction when I worked at Station Casino that we were not going to be a brand that was going to be a strip brand, a Las Vegas strip brand. We were going to be a local casino brand, and we stuck to that. And we were going to become your local's favorite. That was an extremely important thing for us. Not only that, but we had to get our employees, our managers, and everyone else to understand why we existed. And that's the biggest challenge that I see with most companies, is they don't understand why they exist. Who are you? What problem does your company solve in the market? How do you present a solution for your customer? You have to have a solution, and that solution has to be clear. That's that intangible. I love colors. I love logos. I love graphic design. I was a graphic designer when I was 14. But one day I grew up and I said, wow, why are people really passionate about this color orange? Or why do they love blues? Or why do they love these letters? And what kind of font should I use? And what kind of message should I have? Those are the things that was very intriguing to me. But more importantly, what are the behaviors that come from all of those things? How do people think? How do they feel? What do they want? And that's really what we try to dig into. What are the product attributes that will relate to that customer where they become loyal to you? Is this solution a daily behavior of your employees? Do your employees understand what problem they're trying to solve? Maybe somebody at Starbucks is trying to make you have a better day than the one you're having. They're not just trying to serve you a cup of coffee. So that's what you got to think about. What are your product attributes? And then let's talk about, who is your customer? Who is your customer? Let's talk about the loyal brand champion, because the loyal brand champion is something that people have a challenge with. And why do they have a challenge? Because the rest of the world wants to talk about customers, but the best brands in the world want to talk about customer loyalty. They don't want to talk about a transaction. They don't want to talk about a one-night stand. They want to talk about marrying their customer. So a one-night stand is a customer. Somebody come in and buy some batteries from you and walk out. You probably don't care if you see them again. You don't remember their name. You don't care what they do. You don't even like them. They don't love you. So there you go. We're done. How about if you had someone who came in and bought batteries, and then the next day they bought a remote-controlled car, the next day they bought a walkie-talkie, they bought a TV? What if somebody came into your establishment and they have a better understanding and an emotional response to your brand? That's where you're hitting the intangible. That's where your name and your packaging and your price becomes synonymous with one. It becomes that value proposition. it becomes that thing where people purchase your brand without even thinking about it. It becomes a daily habit of who you are and what you do. And this is where you have to understand that. People will buy your company's packaging. They'll have value over pricing. I always advise my clients, don't get into price wars, because that price war is going to cost you. And the reason that price war is something that you have to be careful about is because you may get into a price war and you will price yourself out of the market. Be who you're going to be all of the time. Set a trend and set a precedent and keep to that. That's how you're going to determine who your customer is. And no, everyone is not your customer. Every time I hear somebody tell me that at a networking event, I just want to slap them. And sometimes I do. I just slap them because that is the dumbest thing I've heard in my life. Everybody is not your customer, so get that out of your head first. Determine who you are, and then your customer will determine if they're going to be loyal to you. Everyone cannot be your customer because everyone will not like your brand. Not everyone loves Starbucks. Not everyone likes McDonald's. Not everyone loves Apple. So you have to understand that at some point, everyone is not going to be your customer. So don't get crazy with that. Get focused on who is your customer and focus on giving them the best value that you possibly can. The focus of all brands should be on the customer. Everybody keeps asking me, Shaundell, is your favorite color orange? No, actually it's blue, but my customer likes orange. So I'm just telling you, that's why we wear orange. That's why our branding colors happen to be orange. It happens to stand for the psychology of color, two-way communications and excitement, because marketing is exciting, communications is exciting, and we want two-way communication. So that's why the color is orange. It's not my favorite color. It just happens to be synonymous with what my loyal brand champions want. So what problem do you solve? That's a big thing that people ask. What problem do you solve? And one of the best examples I can give you is Fandango. Prior to Fandango, I probably would never step into a movie theater. I just always had bad experiences with movies, and I couldn't stand going to the movies. So I always wanted to say, how do you get somebody like me into the movie theater? Well, I'm kind of a spoiled brat. So I love the fact that I can go in, get my tickets, show my tickets when I get in, skip any line, and feel like a VIP. Yes, I'm that rotten person that needs that app that will get me to the front of the line. So when I get my Starbucks app and I can do my order online and I can walk in and get my coffee, I'm cool. I'm very, very happy. So what problem did they solve for me? Well, the problem that they solved is that I didn't have to stand in line. I don't have to stand in line and purchase tickets and do all this other stuff. I can go right to the popcorn line. Now, if they can figure out how to get me popcorn on Fandango too, I'm good. I'm really, really excited. So this is what you have to understand. It comes down to the person feeling like you solved the problem, whether you have solved it or it's a perception of solving a problem. That's what this is all about. The intangible is about reality and perception. So if people feel good about what you're doing and how you're solving the problem, that will really help you out as a company. You have to focus on that intangible. It is your reputation. It is what people believe. It is what people see. It is what people have experienced. If people have a great experience with your product or service, they will continue to buy it. They will continue to recommend it, and they will continue to defend your brand. Believe me, I'm telling you that Apple loyal brand champions will defend their product to the end. They will fight for it. They will say, you know what? I don't care what you tell me, PC user. I am an Apple product user, and that's who I am, and that's who I'm going to be. That's how people think. A Coke drinker will say to a Pepsi drinker in a minute, your product sucks, mine is the greatest. You have to understand how this works. That's how we solve problems in the market. It's real or perceived, and that's what people have to understand is that it's real or perceived. You have to make meaning. If you make meaning, you will make money. A good guy named Guy Kawasaki, who was one of the original Macintosh developers, he talks about that all the time. If you get a chance, YouTube him and listen to how he talks about if you make meaning, you will make money. If you set out to make money, you probably won't make meaning and you probably won't make money at all. So that's very important for you to understand. You have to solve a problem. And then we talk about what is your brand promise? How many people think about what is your brand promise? What are you promising to the consumer? What are you promising you will do for them? What will you help them to do so that their life is a little bit easier, it feels a lot better? How are you telling your story? Like if you see on this example on the slide, Dove soap makes soap old-fashioned. So like I was talking about earlier, how it became a cleansing cream, and it became the perception, real or perceived, that Dove soap makes your skin feel very, very soft. I remember going into my grandmother's bathroom, and she always had Dove soap. And I said, Grandma, why did you pick Dove soap? She said, oh, boy, that makes your skin feel better. And then I didn't know till later on that she bought into the brand. I was like, oh, okay, she bought into the brand. But now it's all about how they told the story. And if you can see in this print ad, that's exactly what they're doing. They're telling you a story. Why would you use soap if you use Dove soap? Why would you use soap if you use this cleansing cream that will change the way your body will feel? Real or perceived, that's what they were shooting for. And then what makes them different from all competitors? This changed the game for them. This told everybody else that they were the real players and everybody else were counterfeit. And then, is your message clear? Is it consistent? Does it have any character? Well, naturally, if you look at the design of the soap, the packaging of the soap, oh, my God, it is clear that Dove soap is different than that square box, ugly soap design that's there right now. So what is that all about? I'm telling you, it is awesome. Your positioning statement is extremely important. It's going to be the way that you're advertised. It's really going to talk about the way you advertise your product or service. And so you have to tell a story. You have to get beyond the logo and start talking about the intangibles, what makes you special. If you meet a person, wouldn't you like to meet a person who has some excitement in their life, that has something behind them? Let me ask that question. Wouldn't you like to meet somebody who has excitement and something behind them, or would you rather read just a boring old logo and somebody's story and no interest at all? So make sure that you look out for a positioning statement. And we can talk more about that later. I don't have time to go into it, but you can always visit our website, and I'll give you more information about how to get that positioning statement going. One of the things that I want you to think about is controlling your message, because nowadays with everybody, they want to be that sensation that goes viral. They want to do these goofy things, and it really, really frustrates those of us that are marketing professionals, because everybody feels like all they have to do is put a message out there and somebody's going to grab it and they're going to run with it. Well, that's not necessarily true. You have lightning strike once in a blue moon, but that's okay. But you have to be more careful than that with your business. Your business has to be focused. You have to control your message. Make sure your message is on point. Be consistent. Be consistent. Make sure that you can tell your chambers of commerce, your community, your customers. Make sure all of those guys clearly understand what value you bring to the market. What are your likes and dislikes? What type of customers do you like? Which ones can they introduce you to? If they don't know, or more importantly, if you don't know, then they don't know. And I always tell my small businesses, if you're a schizophrenic company, then guess what? You will never get a customer, because people have to identify with something that they know, like, and trust. You have to be consistent. You have to stay on message. You have to stay on point. Give them something to talk about. The other big point that I can't stand, and forgive me if you're this person, but if you were talking about word-of-mouth marketing, you are going crazy right now, because I've heard that from so many companies that have gone out of business. Word-of-mouth marketing is simply giving somebody a story to talk about. Have you ever played that rumor game where you talk around the room and you give somebody a story, and then by the time it gets around to the last person, the whole story has changed? Well, that's the risk you're taking with your business if you're talking about word of mouth, because that person who could be putting your message out there might be scrambling your message, and you're relying on them to get it right because you're not controlling that message. Oh, Shaundell, I got word of mouth marketing. Word of mouth marketing, if it's working for you, God bless you. But I'm telling you, I don't think it's that effective. I think that word of mouth has to have a message in order for people to carry that word of mouth around. And then go beyond involvement, because I always hear people say, I'm involved in my chamber, I'm involved in my community, I'm involved with my customer. You got to be engaged. Get rid of the word involvement. That is a weak word. Talk about being engaged. Those companies that are the best brands in the world understand how to be engaged in their community, with their customers, and they understand how to be engaged with their chamber. If you're just simply showing up and you don't have any engagement at all, shame on you. Don't blame your local chamber, blame yourself, because you invested the money, but you haven't put the time and energy into making sure that your brand is very much planted like a flag in that chamber or in that organization. That is the smart thing to do. So make sure that you do all of that. And your brand, without a doubt, can be worldwide and global. It can be award-winning. It could be synonymous with the best brands in the world. And all I'm trying to get you to see is that with the intangible, you can build constant cash flow. We have been blessed to have so many different awards that have been given to us, but those awards were not because we self-nominated, it's because other people understood our brand. And some of those awards had distinct characteristics and distinct deliverables when it came to responding to those awards. And it was funny because people could write our story better than we can sometimes. And that's what I think you have to get to. You want to get to the point where your brand is worldwide and global, and it's award-winning, and it's synonymous with the best brands in the world. So with that, I'm very excited to give you some think about our intangible sum, and I'll share with you how we do it. We actually work with small businesses in two different ways. We become their in-house marketing team, where we actually do all of the work for them as if they had an employee, but we put together a team that will do all of those things for small businesses, in some cases government, in some cases medium to large-sized businesses. But also I've become a marketing mentor to a lot of folks inside the Sumnu Solutions Zone. We're actually going to be launching that early sign-ups in the next week or so. So people that want me to mentor them in marketing and give them marketing tips every single week or even every single day in some cases, we're going to be doing that. So that gives you a little bit about our brand and who we are. So we have that intangible sum that works for us. So I'm so happy and so thankful to the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce. I was talking to Kristen on her way in, and she was excited to hear us doing this webinar. She knows how passionate I've been for the last 11 years. We have talked and helped thousands of small businesses throughout this country to understand really what marketing is all about. I know a lot of people have their own preconceived notions about marketing because they took a class or they did something else. And I'm telling you that since I was a kid, riding on 3 subway trains to school every day, that's all I studied was brands, marketing. If you know New York City, everywhere you look in the subway, on the top, in the streets, on the walk into school, you see brands, you see marketing, you see advertising, you see media. Those are the things that I live. But I also read and studied some of the best brands in the world because that's what I love. And so I am that geek. I don't play basketball. I didn't know how to rap. I didn't know how to play music, but I do love this marketing stuff. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm so thankful to the Chamber, and thank you to Rachel for giving me a hand. And also my sidekick, Brianna's here helping me out. So I'm really excited. I guess now we take questions. Is that right, Rachel? Okay. Rachel's going to queue you up to get some questions.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, you guys can use the chat box, or you can push *7 on the phone, whichever one's easiest for you. If none of you have questions, I wrote one down, so I could start it off, but I want to make sure we get you guys taken care of first. Anyone? Bueller? Okay, well, I'll ask my question. You talked a lot about people following brands. How many chances do brands have before they lose a customer? So say, I follow McDonald's. I don't care what anybody says. That Coke that they have, and there's another brand that I'm following that I will go. I don't buy Coke from the bottle from the store. I buy it from McDonald's because there's something about it. I don't know what it is, but I go back to it. How many times would McDonald's have if they messed up, like in the media, or their people just aren't treating me right? How long before I say, all right, I can't do McDonald's anymore, I have to find somewhere else?
Oh, it's interesting because when you talk about brands, you treat it as if you were dating somebody, right? Most times you get that first impression. Mm-hmm. That first impression can be the damaging one. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will give you a second chance, but in most cases, when they give you a second chance, they already come with some baggage, right? They come with some residue. So they're not as forgiving. What you want to do is you want to nail this the first time. Okay. And the reason you want to nail it the first time is because then you have you've already established something that is a precedent and an experience in their mind where they have an emotion that they remember. You don't want them to start off with a bad emotion.
Okay. Oh, somebody's leaving. Does anybody else have any questions before we wrap this thing up? I know we ran over a little bit on time, so. Well, I just want to thank you for your time, both of you today. This was excellent. I'm not in the field of marketing. I'm in the field of events, but it's always nice to have a little insight. For the listeners, I want to remind you to join us next Friday where we talk about Nevada Opportunity Scholarship Program and how it benefits your business and the future workforce for our state. I hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks so much.